Hello and welcome to the Forge. I'm the ArtSmith. We all know Gardevoir. It's one of the most popular Pokemon ever. You could show this to just about anyone and they'd be able to tell you what it is and where it's from. Its incredible success clearly encouraged Game Freak to make more designs like it in subsequent games, and thus a new trope was created. Every game promises a certain level of consistency, that being the presence of Route 1 Pokemon, pseudo-legendaries, and a 3-stage Pokemon with feminine qualities, just to name a few. The fakemon I've created so far are all monstrous animals of some kind, and I figured it'd be good to inject some diversity into the decks. What's so special about Pokemon as a concept is that every Pokemon caters to different interests. If you like cute animals and dinosaurs, that's great, but I really want to try stepping out of my comfort zone. That is why in this video, I'll be designing my Fakemon region's very own pseudo-Gardevoir, which is a humanoid Fakemon with a traditionally feminine appearance. While making this video, I was inspired by how succulents tend to propagate from division. Essentially, a piece of the succulent would be cut off and planted to create a new plant. I wanted to apply this concept to a Fakemon. What if a piece of it was removed to create a whole new Fakemon? Kind of like if the Nincada line were grass types. So in short, I'll be designing a Fakemon that loses a part of itself when it evolves, and that part becomes the Gardevoir clone. I swear it'll all make sense in a moment. Let's just get into it. Let's start with the Fakemon at the top of this branching evolution. I knew that I wanted to make it a horse for reasons that will become clear later. If this Fakemon needs to be pruned in order to evolve, I wanted to base it on a plant well known for needing to be trimmed. So a topiary only made sense. I wanted this Fakemon to be simple yet effective in its design. Its body is mostly one color, but I kept it dynamic by implementing different shades of green to really sell that it is a bush, with pops of color in the flowers that are growing on it. I envisioned this Fakemon being really stiff in its movements, as if the leaves are restricting it. I had a very clear vision for this guy, and wound up executing it rather quickly. The trickiest part was the shading, but it was also some of the most fun I've had designing a Fakemon. I liked the idea of needing to use an item to evolve it. Maybe shears or something, making it the first item-based evolution in the decks. I named this cute garden decoration Foaliage. What do you think of it? Foaliage, the topiary Pokemon. It is not uncommon to mistake this Pokemon for a garden decoration, given how scarcely it moves. This is because the beautiful bramble that covers its surface restrains its limbs. If it stays in one place for too long, it can become rooted to the spot it stays. Herds of wild foliage can be found frozen across stretches of green fields, creating a pseudo-garden where strange flowers can bud across their surfaces. So what does foliage look like after finally being freed from its plant-like shackles? I wanted it to feel like the physical embodiment of freedom. So let's give it some wings and turn it into a Pegasus. The grass wings splattered with flowers was such a strong visual from the start. I had to get this right. Too bad it took me a couple of tries to get there. At first, I tried to make it like its first form, with lumpy line art and shading to imply that it's made of flowers. But I learned that doing the shading technique with any color other than green makes for a very strange effect. It didn't look like a plant, more like I did a sloppy job rendering it. Okay, let's try again. If its first form is round and soft, it would make sense that after being trimmed, it has adopted sharper shapes instead. And since it's unburdened by the topiary now, I turned its grass elements into accessories. I also tried my best to base its body on the stilt-legged horse from the Ice Age. Depictions of this giant horse give it a short mane and a burly physique. For a moment, I was very tempted to make it look like those old cave paintings, but it wasn't very aerodynamic. So yeah, I managed to link it to my prehistoric theme of the region in the end. Phytoflight, the freedom Pokemon. After using shears on foliage, it becomes unburdened by the topiary and explodes into the sky. It turns what used to constrict it into wings that it can use to be truly free. A rich community of enthusiasts have come together to celebrate this Pokemon through pageants and competitions. Wild Phytoflights are notoriously difficult to train, but some trainers are granted the privilege of joining it in flight. Similar to Shedinja, when you evolve Foaliage and have a Pokeball and an empty slot in your inventory, you will find this fakemon suddenly in your team. Essentially, after trimming foliage, this flower falls off and becomes Potulent, a ghost grass type. Based on the appropriately named ghost plant found in Arizona, this little sapling is used to being pampered, much like potted plants in real life. Anyone who has plants can tell you just how much work goes into keeping them alive. They kind of act like a spoiled princess, and that's exactly the energy I wanted to capture in this fakemon. After being separated from its original host, it feels fragile and hides in the protection of its pot. Its flower acts as a tiara, and its pot even resembles a dress. If this ever became a fan game, I'd love there to be a Potulent or two in a lot of the houses. It would be such cool world building in my eyes. Maybe there'd even be a side quest where an NPC gifts you a shiny Potulent as a reward. Potulent, the pampered pot Pokemon. A peculiar Pokemon that somehow appears after foliage evolves. It is fragile after being severed from its host. Therefore, it requires special treatment in order to survive. It never leaves the safety of its pot, and cries when it's separated from its trainer. Its beauty livens up a room and is sought out by plant enthusiasts across the nation. This has led to a thriving industry and side hustle for local ranchers training up Phytoflights. The second stage of this line is where I introduce the main gimmick of the fakemon. Remember, this fakemon exists because its flower was severed from foliage. Removing a succulent flower from its host plant is literally called beheading. I wanted to turn this fakemon into a Dullahan. Originating from Ireland, a Dullahan is a monster whose head is separate from its body. The most famous example of this kind of monster is the Headless Horseman. All of this inspiration combined makes a ghost princess who's lost her head. Of course, being as pompous as it is, the second stage of this fakemon doesn't want to give away that its head isn't attached to its body, so it uses its vines to prevent it from rolling off. I wanted to play around with keeping the original pot throughout all three of these designs. I love the idea of it flipping upside down completely to change up the original silhouette. Pruncess, the pompous pot Pokemon. This Pokemon has outgrown its pot, but still refuses to leave it. When it senses that someone is approaching, it flips upside down and places its head atop its pot to appear taller and similar to the humans it has encountered. A spoiled, rotten princess may become possessive of its trainer's time. Meanwhile, a well-adjusted princess can make a fantastic addition to a social gathering. And finally, we reach the penultimate design of the video, what all of this was leading to, a headless wraith that fully uses its severed head to its advantage. I mean, now she can always look down on her opponents. I wanted this design to be elegant with a pose that communicates its graceful movements. Its flower has now fully bloomed, creating a crown befitting of a queen. In fact, its petals have become razor sharp, a defensive weapon perfect for throwing. Yeah, it throws its head at potential threats. Ghost types tend to have pretty disturbing lore, so what if this one is rumored to throw its head at people trying to decapitate them? I think it would be a hilarious animation in combat. It still has its trusty pot, which houses its exposed soul. I mean, how could I call it a ghost type without giving it a spirit wisp in the end? Ghost is my favorite typing, and I've been wanting to put my own spin on it for a while. I love how this design turned out. Its colors are so appealing. It's exactly what I would want from a ghost type Gardevoir clone. Decapitent, the Headless Regent Pokemon. Elegant yet daunting, this Pokemon is known to put off most who look upon its severed head. There is a superstition that surrounds this Pokemon, that it throws its head in an attempt to decapitate unsuspecting victims. Because of this rumor, trainers with a Decapitent in their team are viewed as ruthless. In actuality, this Pokemon seldom throws its head at anything unless it's provoked. Alright, so that's my Gardevoir clone, and the Topiary Pegasus that spawns it. Maybe sometime in the future, when I'm designing Mega Evolutions, I'll make a fusion of these two, taking the Headless Horseman concept to the next step. But until then, what do you think of the designs in this video? Would you add Foaliage or Potulent to your team? If this is your first time at the Forge, I highly recommend checking out my fakemon playlist. And to keep up to date with the channel, hit that subscribe button and you can be part of the conversation as I make more of these kinds of videos. Be sure to recommend any prehistoric or Midwestern inspirations in the comments below. I've really been loving some of the ideas you guys have been suggesting. Until then, this has been the ArtSmith, and thank you for coming to the Forge.